These people are in neither category, sorry, but they made great verses for the Hanukkah song. Okay, so I was cruising. You could keep going. Cher married Greg Allman. They named their son Whitefish. She's a latke. The professor on Gilligan's Island, Latke-Hamantash, he can make a radio out of a coconut, but he can't fix a hole in the boat. So I was going on, and my cell phone rang. It's Kenneth. Howard, he said. It's Harold, I commented. Whatever. We got the Philip Roth papers here at Harvard. They include a revised manuscript for the enlarged version of Goodbye Columbus. Phil says you've got to see it. I'm surprised. Phil Roth is a sore subject between Ken and I. I'm surprised he would even mention it. When I was a graduate student, that's Philip Roth, came to my rented room. I was living in Ken's house at the time in Brookline. The rent was cheap, and all I had to do was to massage Ken's heavily bunioned feet to get a below-market rent. Roth knocked on my door. Actually, he broke it down, burst in, and cried, "What's the frequency? What's the frequency?" He beat me severely, stole my wallet, ripped the phone out, reformatted my hard drive, and trashed the place. I ran downstairs to Ken's part of the house, hoping to call the police. Cool and always cool in a crisis. Ken said, "Calm down, explain what happened." I told him, and he became quite agitated. He picked up the phone and rapidly dialed. "Come on, answer it, answer it." I'm thinking, is he calling the Harvard cops or the real Cambridge police? Neither. He's calling his bridge partner. That's right, Philip Roth came to my house. Philip Roth escapes while Ken goes through all the numbers on his auto dialer to give his little celebrity good news there. Phil Roth always felt bad about the incident, and he is, after all, a University of Chicago alumnus, even though he's still banned from campus following his ribald ersatz memoir of Golda Meir's relationship with Alan Bloom. Roth called me when he found out that I would be in tonight's debate, and he emailed me the manuscript as a partial apology for his misbehavior so many years ago. And the manuscript is actually surprisingly relevant. I must say, not as much as the Albert Einstein one, which really is quite remarkable. But, so here I'll read you some of it, and here again, this is Philip Roth. In 1958, when I was 18, I took a summer job checking out books at the Newark Public Library before leaving for Rutgers. That was when I met Rosetta Stone. Actually, I met her at the Jones Country Club, where I collected odd tips doing odd jobs for ladies who were mostly friends of my aunt. Between mahjong games, I would sneak out to the pool and watch the girls. It was there that Rosetta asked me to hold her glasses for a moment while she swam some laps. I hesitated, since I had agreed to help Gladys Berkowitz remove a nasty stain on her new plastic dentures. Rose swam gracefully for 72 laps, her curved and muscled legs moving her through the water. I watched every kick and stroke. Rosetta's leisurely swim cast long shadows, some immediately apparent, others less well known. I burned Mrs. Berkowitz's dentures by leaving them in the harsh ammonia cleanser. For the rest of her days, Gladys's warm smile took on a sinister metallic glint that caused nightmares from among her grandchildren. One was later unmasked as the son of Sam Killer. He claimed to be receiving strange messages through his grandmother's dentures. I know what he meant. Rosetta never knew that she destroyed the Berkowitz dentures. She wouldn't have cared anyway. She carried the sense of entitlement of a young lady who was, and knew she was, beautiful. Rosetta was the closest to a Shiksa goddess one could find within 20 miles of Newark between the Dinah Shore and the Beyonce eras. She lived at the top of the hill in a white mansion abutting the golf course. She bleached her long hair blonde. At her daily 2 o'clock tennis game, she wore impossibly tight white shorts that allowed me to read the words Macy's on the clothes underneath. These obviated any need for the $4,000 nose jobs she and her mother had gotten for Purim from Rosetta's dad, Mike Stone. Soon she allowed me to chauffeur her home from those tennis games, and Rosetta became Rose. Her dad, Mike Stone, blew his own bulbous nose like a trumpet with no thoughts of reconstruction. He owned a chain of kosher butcher shops across New Jersey. A belching fetcher, he was not above sneaking the occasional latke while telling his wife he was working late in the office. He nonetheless felt that his daughter was a pure Hamantashen girl who would never touch a latke, or so he thought. I couldn't have shouted latke louder if I had smeared potato batter all over him. I'll skip the current passage in reverence to the solemnity of the occasion and the delicate sensibilities of this audience. He hated me for it. He would have hated me more if he knew what Rose and I generally did before I would drive her home. She was the first girl to kiss me without first having to take out her retainer. I would drive my white Ford Fairlane up the turnpike, speed breathlessly to her door, and sweep her away until I brought her home at exactly 9:58 p.m. to meet her summer curfew. I would then stagger home depleted, just in time to prepare an Epsom salt bath for my Aunt Rhonda. I would massage her well-bunioned feet and clean the dishes before the morning. Every day in the library, I would sneak to the forbidden sections where I would search feverishly for pointers from women's advice magazines and, of course, from the classic Jewish religious texts. These would receive immediate application. Things were going great until Rose called me Kyle during a moment of passion. It's not so much that she called out to another man. I would get used to that. But why, I asked, did it have to be Kyle? Why not Irving or Lenny? She attempted to placate me. Phil, Kyle's middle name is Mort. But it was too late. I found I could no longer, well, you know, without Kyle's memory imposing what macroeconomists would describe as a deflationary event. She begged forgiveness, finally placating me by indulging my secret passion. Whenever we made love, I would place right there on the bedstand an 8.5 by 11 beautifully framed picture of a latke. Its disc-like shape, its potatoey crispness chased Kyle's memories away. I did, however, have some strange thoughts about Aunt Rhonda. I knew it couldn't last. Rose left for Radcliffe in September. On a surprise visit, her parents found the picture left carelessly in her underwear drawer. I suppose she wanted to get caught. Her family immediately deduced its purpose and implication. In that more prudish age, they found the concept of such intimate appliances revolting. They sent the picture back to me, accompanied by a terse note asking me never to call Rose again. I never did. Years later, I ran into Rose near the sociology department where she worked. Still beautiful, she had traded her tight tennis dresses for a drab yet erotically fascinating black suit jacket. Her bottle blonde hair was short and brown. 3 earrings hung high in the back of her ear. They looked like paper clips that had been fired at her from a blowgun. She wore tight leather, black-soled ankle boots, which, come to think of it, given the appropriate spray paint, would have made excellent bowling shoes. She lived with her husband, Bubba, née Benjamin Feinstein, née Feinstein. She was leaving the bakery, the smell of Hamantaschen reeking from the both of them. I was killing some time on a date, but still reeling from my 1972 divorce. Under my arm, I hurriedly concealed a book by University of Chicago sociologists. It reported that Jewish males are the most sexually satisfied group in America. Rose spotted the book. She commented, "They should get out more." I responded, "Why depress people with what they're missing?" Rosetta said, "Not Jewish men, silly, I mean the sociologists." You should too, by the way. We passed some cliche interdisciplinary banter. She wanted to take the con out of economics. I wanted to put the logical into sociological. Bubba tapped his foot, embarrassed. I turned to go. "Goodbye, Phil," Rosetta called. "Goodbye, Rose." "And is it Benjamin?" I said. At that moment, a familiar voice called, "Hi, sweetie." My then rebound relationship, Hannah Arendt, a Hamantaschen goddess if there ever was one, called to me from across the street. Hannah seemed to have it all, but our relationship didn't last. She told me I was obsessed with politics, that I needed to kick back and lighten up. She once called me Martin in the shower. It wasn't her fault, really. She wasn't Rose, nor was my former wife Judy or my former wife Kim. So ends the pertinent segment of Philip Roth's manuscript. Where does this leave us today, my friends? This is a dark time. Our country has just re-elected a president who personifies the term Mishigas for the Goyim. One who assures us that the French have no word for entrepreneur. You can't make it up. He is now fired. Colin Powell, the only Yiddish-speaking latke in the cabinet. Interpreting the election that yielded this grinning Boychik, hermeneutics are tempted to panic. They hoped the red states would like us better if we would only eat our Hamantaschen and make small changes such as moving synagogue to Sunday morning. They want to keep the gay Jewish atheists, the Hollywood liberals out of public view and replace that vampire slayer chick with more palatable genetically linked figures like Paul Wazan and Kathy Lee Gifford. My friends, I'm conscious that Hamantaschen leave without saying goodbye, while latkes say goodbye and never leave. I say, never surrender. Eat your latke proudly. Thank you very much.